Okay, so I welcome you to the class. First of all, I would like to discuss the overview of the IELTS exam. And the first thing I would like you to know is that the IELTS is graded between 0 and 9, which means 9.0 is the total band score. You also need to know that there are 4 sections on the IELTS, and they are reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And you also need to know that each of the 4 sections is graded between 0 and 9. What that means is that the reading section, for example, is graded between 0 and 9. The listening section also is graded between 0 and 9. The speaking section, the same thing, it is graded between 0 and 9. And the last section, the writing section, is also graded between 0 and 9. So once again, each of the 4 sections of the IELTS is graded between 0 and 9. And then your total band score, so this is how you get your total band score. Each of the, all the scores, the individual score of each of these sections, the individual score will be added. Your score in reading, your score in listening, your score in speaking, and your score in writing. All the scores will be added, divided by 4. So that's how you get your total band score on the IELTS. So remember, on the IELTS, there are 4 sections: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So in this class today, I'm going to discuss one of the 4 sections of the IELTS. And that section, I'm sure you can see the section on the screen already. That section is the listening section. So I'll be discussing the listening section today. Okay, so in the listening section of the IELTS, you need to know that you listen to 4 recordings of native English speakers, and then you write your answers to a series of questions. The listening test covers 4 separate recordings, remember, and is 30 minutes long, plus 10 minutes transfer time to transfer your answer to the answer sheet, making it 40 minutes. So once again, the listening test itself is 30 minutes, but you'll be given 10 minutes because while you're answering the listening questions, you are answering the questions directly on the question paper. That's how it is. You're answering the questions directly on the question paper. That is the reason you'll be given 10 minutes transfer time to transfer your answer to the answer sheet. So you then copy your answers from the question paper to the answer sheet. So making, the 10 minutes that will be added for you to transfer your answer to the answer sheet, the 10 minutes will make it 40 minutes in total for the for the listening section. The listening test is the same for both academic and general training tests. The reason why you need to know this is 2 of the sections on the IELTS are different, and those sections are they are different for both academic and general training tests. The 2 sections are the reading section and the writing sections. So those are the 2 sections that are different, but the other 2 sections, listening and speaking, they are the same, whether you are taking the academic or the general training IELTS. Now, you'll be given some time to read the questions before each recording is played. Okay, now, let me expatiate on that. You'll be given some time to read the questions before each recording is played. It's like this. The speaker in the recording will tell you that you have some time to look at a certain number of questions. The speaker will say something like this: You have some time to look at questions 1 and 3. Once again, you have some time to look at questions 1 and 3. You won't be given you it is only in the last part. That's where you can be allowed to look at all the 10 questions attached to the last recording. But the other sections, you'll only be given time to look at few questions, like 3, 4, or 5 questions. So once again, the speaker will say something like this: you have some time to look at questions 1 and 3, or you have some time to look at questions 4 and 8. Now, you have to read the questions very carefully, as you will hear each recording only once. So you want to be familiar with the questions before you hear the recording. So once again, that time that you're given to look at the questions, you have to use that time judiciously. Make sure you read the questions very carefully, because you will only listen to it again. You can only listen to it once. So remember, that time that you are given to look at few questions, use that time judiciously. Look at the questions so that you will know what you are, what you want to answer, what you are looking for, what you want to listen for, in order to answer the questions. Now let's move on. Remember that there are you listen to 4 recordings, 4 listening recordings. Now let's talk about the first recording. That's part 1. Let's talk about the first recording. That's part 1. The first recording is a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday context. Once again, the first recording is always a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday context. E.g., it could be a conversation in an accommodation agency. Example topic could be, want to go to the movies. So once again, now before I discuss the second recording, remember once again that the first recording is always a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday context. Now that makes the first recording an extremely simple recording. The first recording is extremely okay. I have a message, sorry. Right. So once again, the fact that the first recording is a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday context. Okay, that fact, the fact that it is set in an everyday context, that fact makes the first recording an extremely simple recording, and it makes all the questions, or if not all, almost all, if not all the questions attached to the first recording, simple as well. So the questions that will be attached to the first recording, the questions are simple. You have to do all you can in order not to miss any question, because the questions attached to the first recording are extremely simple. I have a message. Okay. Right, good. Now, I would like to talk about the second recording. Remember that you will listen to 4 listening recordings. You listen to 4 recordings in the listening section. I just told you about the first recording, that it is a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday context. Now, I would like to talk about the second recording. The second recording is a monologue set in an everyday social context. I hope you know the meaning of monologue. Monologue means speech by just one person. So once again, the second recording is a monologue set in an everyday social context, e.g., a speech about local facilities. An example topic could be the benefits of public transport. Now, once again, the same way part 1, the first recording is extremely simple. That same way, the second recording is also simple, because it is also set in an everyday social context. Every day, I mean, something that is common, a commonplace social context, something that is common that we are one way or the other aware of. So it's set in an everyday social context, and that makes the second recording extremely simple. Now, I want to talk about the third recording. The third recording is a conversation between up to 4 people set in an educational or training context, e.g., a university tutor and student discussing an assignment. An example topic could be the best way to give a presentation in class. Don't forget, the third recording is a conversation between up to 4 people set in an education training context. I would like to discuss the fourth and last recording. That's part 4. The fourth recording, which is the last one, is also a monologue on an academic subject, e.g., a university lecture. And I go to a university lecture, marketing online. To let you know that the last recording, the fourth one, is usually the hardest of all the listening recordings. The first recording is simple. The second recording is also simple. The third one may be a bit more complex than the first two. And the last one can, usually the hardest of the 4 recordings. That it is the hardest does not mean that it can never be simple. It can be simple, but usually the fourth recording, is usually the hardest. Remember that there are 4 recordings with 10 questions each. Yes, each of the recordings will have 10 questions, which means that there'll be 40 questions in total in the listening section. You also need to know that the questions in the listening section are designed so that the answers appear in the order that they are heard in the audio. I mean, as you are listening to the recordings, when you hear the answer to question 1, the answer to question 2 will come after that part of the recording where you heard the answer to question 2. Since you cannot rewind the recording, and since you cannot rewind, then the answers will follow one another in the recordings. The answers to the questions will follow one another in the recordings. Remember that the recordings are heard only once. You should know that they include a range of accents, including British, Australian, New Zealand, American, and now let's move on to some other aspects of the listening section. Right now, I'll be talking about the types of questions that you will come across in the listening section. Anytime anybody writes the IELTS, these are the question types that he or she will see in the listening section. The question types remain the same. This is one of the reasons why the IELTS is a standardized test. It's a standardized test because it means that almost everything, if not everything, is standardized from the number of questions. For example, in the listening section, there will always be 40 questions. So that's one of the reasons. So it's standardized. It is not like your university exam. The lecturer could decide to set 10 questions, or your lecturer could decide to set 7 questions, or your lecturer could decide to set 15 questions. This one is not like that. The IELTS is not like that. The IELTS is a standardized test, once again, which means that almost everything, if not everything about the IELTS is standardized. Once again, one of the things that is standardized, for example, is the number of questions. For example, in the listening section, there'll be 40 questions in the listening section. Another thing that is standardized is the question types. The question types that you will come across in the listening section, they always remain, they remain the same always. So anytime you decide to take your IELTS exam, in the listening section, the question types remain the same. And these are the question types that you come across. So the first of the question, one of them is multiple choice question type. We are all familiar with multiple choice question type, but I'll need to explain it here. In multiple choice tasks, there is a question followed by 3 possible answers, or the beginning of a sentence followed by 3 possible ways to complete the sentence. You need to know that test takers are required to choose the one correct answer. Yes, the instruction will be there, for multiple choice questions. The instruction will be there that you have to choose one of the 3 options. Now, I want to believe that I'll show you an example of a multiple choice question in the listening section. This is an example. I don't know if you can see that image. I believe you can see the image right now. The image says questions 15 to 17. It says, the instruction says, choose the correct letter, A, B, or C. And as you can see, question 15 contains 3 options. So you're expected to choose one of the 3 options. Question 16 is also a multiple choice question. There are 3 options. You're expected to choose one of the 3. Question 17 is also another multiple choice question. There are 3 options, and you're expected to choose one of the 3. We are familiar. Once again, we are familiar with. Okay, someone says there is no audio. I believe others can hear me. It might be your network. Okay. I believe others. Yeah. Okay. Good. Someone has replied that. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Every other person can hear me, so you might have to check your audio. You can't hear me. All right. Good. So. All right, good. So every other person can hear me. If you can't hear me, you might have to check your audio. All right, good. So I believe you have seen this example of multiple choice questions. Now, there's another type of multiple choice questions that I would like to let you be aware of. Sometimes test takers are given a longer list of possible answers and told that they have to choose more than one. In this case, they should read, test takers should read the question carefully in order to check how many answers are required. Now, let me show you an example of multiple choice questions in which you are required to choose more than one answer, specifically 2 answers. All right, I'm going to see some examples on the screen there. The instruction says choose 2 letters. The instruction for, if you cannot hear me, you may have to check, you may have to refresh or something. You may have to refresh, check your audio, refresh. Okay, refresh the browser, check your audio. Okay, all right, good. Now, as you can see, these questions are examples of the multiple choice questions that require you to pick more than one, specifically 2. Look at the instruction. It says choose 2 letters between A and E. It says choose 2 letters. The first question says, which 2 age groups are taking increasing numbers of holidays with BC travel? So as you can see, you have a longer list of options, A, B, C, D, and E. So, and the instruction asks you to choose 2 options. The second example is also a multiple choice question, with a longer list of options requiring to choose 2 options. So for multiple choice questions, remember, the instruction might ask you to pick one between 3 options, or sometimes the instruction might ask you to pick 2 or 5 options. All right, so another question type that you come across in the listening section is called matching. Matching, that's another question type that you come across in the listening section. What does matching question type require you to do? For matching questions, test takers are required to match a numbered list of items from the listening text to a set of options on the question paper. The set of options may be criteria of some kind. Let me show you an example so that you understand what the matching question looks like. This is an example on your screen. I believe you can see the matching example question on your screen. Look at the instruction. It says which hotel matches each description. So this is a matching question. As you can see, it says which hotel matches each description. It also says choose your answers from the box and write the correct letter A to E next to questions 1 to 4. Now, look at I believe you can see question 1. And first of all, I believe you can see the box containing options A, B, C, D, and E. Now look at question 1. Question 1 says is in a rural area. If, for example, it is said in the listening recording that Charlton House is in a rural area, then it means that for question 1, which says is in a rural area, the answer will be option B. Now let's look at question 2. Question 2 says only opened recently. If in the listening recording it is said that the Majestic is only opened recently, then for question 2, which says only opened recently, then the answer is option D, the Majestic, option D. So this is an example of matching question type. So you have to match each question to the correct option based on what is said in the listening recording. Okay, if you can, let me show you. Let me scroll. I don't know if you can see the question. Can you see the question now? Can you see the question now? If you can't, let me know, because you have to see the question type, the example of the question type. You know, it's crucial. Okay, I need to be sure that you can see. Okay, good. Okay, good. It's good that you can see an example of the question type. Okay, now the next question type that in the listening section that I will be discussing is plan, map, or diagram labeling. For these question types, test takers are required to complete labels on a plan, map, or diagram. The answers are usually selected from a list on the question paper. For these question types, plan, map, or diagram labeling, let me show you some examples. Okay, I don't know if you can see. Okay, this one I have here is map example. You know, map example. Can you see the map example? Okay, if you can see it, okay, that's fine. Okay, because you have to be able to see. Okay, good. You have to be able to see it. It's crucial in understanding what the question type requires it to do. A map, and as you can see, it said write the correct letter A to I, between A to I, next to questions 14 to 20. So this map answers questions 14 to 20. This is just an example. And the map is titled Proposed Traffic Changes in Granford. Look at question 14 here. I don't know if you can see question 14. Let me scroll. If you cannot say, that's question 14. Okay. It says new traffic lights. So I think I'll use this as an example. I'll use this to explain. Question 14 says new traffic lights. So look at the map again. You have options A to I options A to I. Okay, so question 14 might just be option A. Question or it might be B, it might be C, it might be D, it might be E, it might be and so on and so forth. Okay, good. Now let's assume that the it is said in this listening recording that just opposite the bank are new traffic lights. Once again, let's assume that it is said in the listening recording that opposite the bank are new traffic lights. Then for question 14, I want to believe that which says new traffic lights. I want to believe that you will agree with me that then for question 14, the correct option will be C, because option C is just opposite the bank. So once again, if, for example, it is said in the recording that opposite the bank are new traffic lights, then for question 14, which says new traffic lights, the correct option will be option C. So that's an example. Okay, let's quickly look at another example. Okay, an example of a plan. This is a plan. Okay, this is a plan. It is the same process. This plan is titled Town Library. It's a plan for town library. And as you can see, we have question 14 here. We have question 15. Okay, so we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, good. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it is the same process. For question 11, is it option A, which is art collection? Is it option B, which is children's books? Is it option C, which is computers? Is it option D? Is it option E? Is it option F? Is it option G? Is it option H? Or is it option I? So you are picking one of the options for each of the questions 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15. You are picking, you're answering the questions based on, what is said in the listening recording. But remember, remember that you'll be given some time to look at the questions. This plan contains questions 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Remember, you'll be given time to look at those questions. It will be said in the recording that you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. So you'll be given time to look at the questions, and then when you're given time, you have to use that time judiciously. Remember, okay, use that time judiciously. Use these words that are included. The first word here is entrance. The first thing we can see, close to the entrance is the librarian's desk. So you are using all these words that are fused there. You are using them to, to get close to the questions. The first thing we can see is librarian's desk. Okay, and so okay, the first place is this one on the left hand side. So for example, this one on the left hand side, that's for question 11. Okay, this one for question 11 on the left hand side, the speaker might just say the left hand side houses the multimedia. So for example, once again, the speaker might say, at close to the entrance and on the left hand side of the plan, okay, we have the multimedia. So it means that for question 11, which is on the left hand side, then the correct option is option F, since okay, that's multimedia. Okay, good. So all right, so let's look at an example of questions attached to a diagram. Questions attached to a diagram. So this is an example of a diagram. So it's still the same process. You'll be given some time to look at the diagram. So, and then this diagram, I'm sure we can all see, contains questions. How many questions? I think 3 questions. It contains questions 23, 24, and 25. Okay, so you'll be given some time, remember, to look at the questions. Okay, and then as you can see, for question 23, you have floats dropped into ocean and dash by satellite. So you use the words will, they serve as clues, so that because the speaker will mention the words float dropped into ocean and, but the speaker will use synonyms to say exactly the same thing, float dropped into ocean and dash. So you are listening for the missing word or words. Okay, and when you hear the missing word or words, you have to quickly answer the question, All right, good. So now let's move on. Another question type is In the listening section, okay, you have form, notes, table, flow chart, or summary completion. Okay, so what are these question types? Or what did they require you to do? Test takers are required to fill in the gaps in an outline of part or of all the listening text. The outline will focus on the main ideas or facts in the text. It may be a form. A form is used to record factual details such as names. In fact, this one form is it is usually the first set of questions for in the listening section. So in the listening section, like usually the first 10 questions will be a form. Usually the first 10 questions will be attached to a form. All right. Okay, this is an example. This is an example of form. As you can see, the question says here, complete the form below. That's what the question says. It says, the instruction says, complete the form below. So this is a form. Okay. So you are just filling a form. For example, so somebody wants to purchase something, or somebody wants to pay for something, and the client will need to, fill a form. So that's just what the form is all about. Now, as you can see, we have name here on this form, and the person's name is Jacob, and then the second name, that's where you have the blank. So you are listening for Jacob, and then the other name of the person. So you are just filling a form here, based on what you hear from the recording. All right. So okay, this one is a set of notes. The instruction says complete the notes below. So look at these notes. So you are listening to fill the missing words. You are just listening to fill the missing words. The speaker will say something like, okay, the National Arts Center is well known for, but you have to realize that the speaker, the speaker will make use of synonyms. Don't expect the speaker to say well known for. That would be too simple. So don't expect the speaker to say well known for, but expect the speaker to use, to paraphrase it, to use synonyms. For example, well known for, the speaker might say, the National Arts Center is famous for. Then the speaker will mention the answer. So your job is to listen for the missing words, to listen for the answer. So when you hear the answer, you quickly answer it on the question paper. Right. Okay. So this is another, kind of question that you see in the listening section. This one is a table. Tables are also very common. So this one is a table. A table is used as a way of summarizing information which relates to clear categories: place, time, price. Those are the things, common things that you see on a table. So look at this table. For question 17 on this table, you have to fill the venue. So you are listening for venue. For question 18, you are listening for the event name. For question 19, you are listening for ticket price. For question 20, you are listening for event name. Okay, so a flow chart, okay, is another kind of question that you come across in the listening section. What is a flow chart? A flow chart is used to summarize a process which has clear stages with the direction of the process shown by arrows. Okay, I think if I scroll down, I think there's also an example of this flowchart question. Okay, but for now, you should know that test takers may have to select the answers from a list on the question paper or identify the missing words from the recording. Keeping to the word limit stated in the instructions, test takers do not have to change the words from the recording in any way. Test takers should read the instructions very carefully, as the number of words or numbers they should use to fill the gaps will vary. A word limit is given, for example, no more than 2 words and or a number. Now, you need to know that test takers are penalized for writing more than the stated number of words, and test takers should check this word limit carefully for each task. And another thing you need to know is that hyphenated words count as single words. I don't know, is there anybody here who does not know the meaning of hyphenated words? Because this is very crucial. You need to know the meaning of hyphenated words. If you don't know, you need to let me know so that I'll explain to you what hyphenated words are. Okay, so but then it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I don't know. Okay, there's someone here. Yes, at least someone here who doesn't know hyphenated words. Okay, And hyphenated words means two words that are joined by a hyphen. Then those two words, if you join two words with a hyphen, it means that those two words are not considered they are not considered two words. They are actually, so it's actually one word. Let me give an example. Okay, an example is evil. Okay, evil-minded. Evil-minded. Now, this is a hyphenated word because it has a hyphen. There's a hyphen between evil and minded. So evil-minded, because of the hyphen, this is just one word. So this is just one word because of the hyphen. So it is one word like that. Okay. Evil-minded is one word. Okay, this is the example there. Can you see it there? So evil-minded, because of the hyphen, is one word. But if I do it like this, evil-minded, then these are two words now. Okay, because there's no hyphen, so these are two words. But the first one with a hyphen is just a word because it has a hyphen. You understand? So once again, do you understand? Okay, father-in-law is also a single word. That's also a single word. That's one word, not three words. I hope you understand it now. So once again, hyphenated words count as single words. Okay, good. So because you are going to need it in the listening section, it's crucial. Yes, you can. Yes, you can create your own hyphenated words. You can create them. You can create your hyphenated. You can hyphenate any two words or any three words. You can hyphenate any two words or any three words. Okay, you just, if you have two words that you want to place together with a hyphen, no problem. You can do it. It's allowed. You understand? As long as it's grammatically correct, that's fine. And then most of them are grammatically correct. You understand? It's just grammar is different. So if you put two words together with a hyphen, that's fine, no problem. So this is an example of the flow chart. As you can see, this is an example of the flow chart. As you can see, so these words. Okay, yeah, this one is session. This flow chart is titled session outline, and the first thing on the flow chart is project topic, and it says design a water treatment system. So these words serve as clues. So the speaker will mention these words. This is about session outline. This is a session outline, and it is titled. The project topic is designing a water treatment system. Then the speaker will say he will be sharing the structure of the tutorial, and the speaker will say something like the first step, okay, is for you to go over blah blah blah. Then the speaker will mention the missing word or words. Then as soon as you hear the missing word or words, just answer the question. Feel it, answer the question. So that is the same process. Okay, now another question type in the listening section is sentence completion. Okay, sentence completion is another question type in the listening section. What does sentence completion, what does it require you to do? Sentence completion questions require you to read a set of sentences summarizing key information from all the listening text or from one part of it. You then fill a gap in each sentence using information from the listening text. You need to know that a word limit is given, for example, no more than one word and or a number. Now, you should know that test takers are penalized for writing more than the stated number of words. Now, test takers should check this word limit carefully for each task. The limit is either 1, 2, or 3 words. Remember, hyphenated words count as single words. All right. So this is an example of sentence completion. As you can see, the instruction says complete the sentences below. So this is sentence completion questions. These are sentence completion questions now. And the instruction says write one word only for each answer. Okay, good. Now look at question 7. It says Paxton is a good place for seeing rare dash all year round. So you are filling the question, you're answering the question based on what this recording says. Okay, shallow-minded. Somebody is asking here if shallow-minded is a single word, or okay, if those are two words. Shallow-minded is a single word because of the hyphen. Single words, okay, because of the hyphen. So shallow-minded is one word because of the hyphen. All right, good. So once again, okay, these questions are sentence completion questions. Okay, So you are completing this, as you can see, these are sentences, and you have to, fill, complete, the sentences with the correct word from the listening recording. Now, this should be the last question, or second to the last or so. So it should be the last question. I mean, short answer questions. Okay. Now, for short answer questions, you are required to read a question and then write a short answer using information from the listening text. A word limit is given, for example, no more than 3 words and or a number. Test takers are penalized for writing more than the stated number of words, remember? And then you should remember that you should check this word limit carefully for each task. Remember, hyphenated words count as single words. Now, sometimes test takers are given a question which asks them to list 2 or 3 points, okay? Now, I want to ask you a question, okay? I want to ask you a question before I show you an example of short answer questions. Look at this particular instruction, no more than 3 words and or a number. Could you please tell me all the correct possibilities for this particular instruction, no more than 3 words and or a number? Let me give you an example. It said no more than 3 words and or a number. That means one correct, right? It means one word could be correct. Remember, the instruction says no more than 3 words and or a number. It means that one word could be correct. Could you tell me the other correct possibilities? Could you tell me the other correct possibilities? Yeah. Okay, somebody said 2 words could be correct. That's fine. 2 words could be correct. 1 word could be correct. 2 words could be correct. Okay, any other person? Tell me Okay, I think this is an example. Go 7. Go is a word, and then 7 is a number. This could be correct. 1 word and a number. That's what this person is saying, if I understand correctly. 1 word and a number could also be correct.
Navy blue gown.
Our navy blue gown.
Yes. Navy blue gown.
So once again, 1 word could be correct. 2 words could be correct. 3 words could be correct. 1 number could be correct. 1 word and a number could be correct. 2 words and a number could be correct. 3 words and a number could be correct. But I need to let you know that 4 words will be wrong. 4 words will be wrong. Okay, 4 words will be wrong. All right, good. Now let's continue. Now this is an example. This is an example of short answer questions. Okay. All right, I think I already said that 3 words could be correct because the instruction says no more than 3 words and not a number, so 3 words could be correct. All right, okay, good. Now this is an example of short answer questions. Okay, the instruction says answer the questions below. Write no more than 3 words and not a number of. Okay, write 2 factors. What 2 factors can make social contact in a foreign country difficult? So you are writing short answers. You're writing short answers. You understand? So that's okay. Good. So that's the last question type, short answer question. Now the next thing I'll be talking about, right? Okay, is right now I'll be talking about listening tips. I mean, listening strategies. The things that can help you, to ace the listening section of the IELTS. So after discussing the listening tips, the next thing will be showing you how to convert your listening scores. Then after that, I'll give you a listening test, at least a recording from a listening test, and so that you listen to the recording and you answer the questions, so that you understand what this is, what this listening section is really, what it really means, what the listening section really means, what it entails. All right, so right now I'll be talking about listening tips. The first listening tip that I'll be sharing with you today is that you only listen once. Remember, I think I've even said it when I was explaining. So you only listen once. Now, you need to know that many of us would love the chance to listen again, but IELTS won't give you that chance. Okay, here are a few tips to doing well with just one listen. When you do practice tests, only listen once because you need to get used to it. Try and identify your listening weaknesses and work on improving those areas. You know, when you do a lot of listening tests, you know, a number of listening tests, a lot of listening tests, okay, if you have weaknesses, for example, if certain question types are difficult for you, then you'll be able to identify those weaknesses, and then the next thing is to work on those weaknesses. Now, on the question sheet, underline keywords. This is another thing you can do. If you can underline keywords that will help you to be able to, answer the questions correctly. And then after underlining the keywords, you have to prepare to listen for those exact words and their synonyms, because the speakers in the listening recordings will use synonyms for the questions. Now, you need to practice different types of listening situations, lectures, conversations, chatting, etc. Now, another listening tip is about synonyms. You need to know that synonyms are important in all aspects of the exam, in all sections of the exam. In the speaking and writing exam, you have to show you know how to use synonyms. In the reading and listening, many of the questions use synonyms in the questions. Now, let's look at an example of how synonyms could be used. The recording might say, Duchess, who is the only king's daughter. Once again, the recording might say, Duchess, who is the only king's daughter. Then the question might say, who is the princess? Now, there are three options here. I hope you can see, the question and the options. Which one do you think is the correct option? I'm asking you. I need you to tell me the option you think is correct from the example I've just given you. So which one do you think is correct? Okay. All right. Okay, good. Yes, that's correct. Option A, which is Duchess, is the correct option. But remember, the most important thing I want you to understand here is synonyms are important. Synonyms are used quite a lot. Once again, in the listening recording, you might hear Duchess, who is the only king's daughter. King's daughter. Then the question might say, who is the princess? Princess is a synonym for king's daughter. You understand? So synonyms will be used quite a lot in the listening section. So you have to be able to listen for synonyms. Okay. Now, another tip is about grammar. What about grammar? Incorrect grammar will cost you points. You need to know this. Incorrect grammar will cost you points. So you have to be careful with things like plural and singular nouns. There may be clues such as an indefinite article in front of the blank space for the answer, which would indicate that the answer is a singular noun. Also, you have to be careful with tenses and subject-verb agreement. If the answer is second person singular, don't forget the S at the end of the noun. Now, take care with verb tenses as well. An incorrect noun form or verb tense will be considered an incorrect answer, even if your answer is right. Now, capitalization of proper nouns is also important. Now, for example, names of countries, cities, or geographical locations, among other things, must be capitalized, okay? Now, an example of this is if you write Australia. I don't know if you can see this part now. Okay, if you write, can you see this part now? For example, if you write Australia as Australia, your answer will be marked as incorrect. Can you see this on the screen? The first letter in the word Australia, the first letter A, it must be a capital letter because it is the name of a country. So it is a proper noun. So all proper nouns must be the first letter must be capitalized. So if you write Australia, you have to make the first letter, letter A. You have to make it a capital letter because it is, Australia is a country, is the name of a country. So it has to be the first letter has to be a capital letter. Another example is if you write someone's name, the first letter must be a capital letter. Okay, for example, David. An example is David. So the first letter of the name David must be a capital letter. Okay, so that's David. So the first letter, letter D, must be a capital letter. If you write David like this, then that's wrong. The first example David is correct. The second example David is wrong because the first letter is a small letter, which is wrong because David is a proper noun. So you have to be careful with your grammar. Okay, another okay. Oh, okay. No. Objects and animals. Okay, they can. They are not proper nouns. Okay, they are not proper nouns. Okay, so they can be small letters. Okay, they can be small letters. Okay, or except that. Okay, except that they are specific names. Specific names, not general names. An object, for example, is is not a proper noun. It is just an object. For example, chair. Chair is just an object. It's just a general, general noun. So you don't capitalize the first letter. But if a particular object has its own special name, its own, a special name that differentiates that object from the other objects, then that special name, the first is a proper noun, the first letter has to be capitalized. But just an object, just like the other versions of the other objects, they are just general nouns, so they cannot be capitalized. Right, good. All right, so spelling. Okay, I think I'm about to talk about spelling. You have to be careful about your spelling too. Okay, incorrect spelling will be marked as an incorrect answer. Okay, once again, if your spelling is incorrect, then the answer is incorrect. So you have to make sure that your spelling is correct. Now, another thing is handwriting, most especially for people who will be taking the paper-based IELTS. If you are taking paper-based, you have to be careful with your handwriting. Okay, handwriting is important. If the examiner cannot read what you have written, hello, is anybody saying anything? All right, so once again, if the examiner cannot read what you have written, it will be marked incorrect. So you have to be careful with your handwriting. Okay, make sure your handwriting is legible enough. Now, if you miss a question, what should you do? If you miss a question, don't dwell on it because you may miss the answer to the next one. So if you miss one, just quickly find wherever you are and move on. Now, another thing you need to know is there's no negative marking on the IELTS. There's no negative marking. Okay, so if you miss, so you just get a 0 for an incorrect or incomplete answer. So if your answer to a question is wrong, it is only that question that you have missed. Okay, there's no negative marking. Okay, and this means that you should attempt all questions, whether you are sure of the answer or you are not particularly sure. Make sure you attempt all questions because there's no negative marking. Now, another tip is that you should watch out for distractors. A distractor is when an alternative but incorrect answer is included in the recording. Okay, let's look at an example of this. Let's look at an example of this. For example, in the IELTS Listening Part 1 dialogue below, from the official Cambridge Guide to IELTS, there are several dates given, but only one is a correct answer to the question. So the question, what date will they leave? So that's the question. Once again, the question is, what date will they leave? So you are going to answer this question. I'll ask you, okay, and you're going to ask the question. So once again, the question is, what date will they leave? And then, the recording goes like this. I believe you can see the screen too. The first person says, right. So you need to book some flights. Is that right? Now, the second person says, yes, for me and my family, we are going to Scotland for my sister's wedding. So the first person replies, oh, lovely. When's the wedding? Can you see? I hope you can see it on the screen. So when's the wedding? And the first, okay. The other person says it's on 21st July. And then the first person says, that should be wonderful, but I assume you want to fly in earlier. What about the 20th or even the 19th? The other person replies, it will have to be the 18th. I've actually got to attend a special dinner on the 19th. So once again, the question is, when will they leave? I want you to answer the question. When will they leave? So I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, when will they leave? Right, 18th. That's correct. 18th. That's correct. That's when they will leave. As you can see, we have a lot of dates from the 21st to the 20th to the 19th to the 18th to the so. But the question is, when will they leave? So a lot of dates. But if you listen carefully, you realize that they will leave on the 18th. So that's it. So you have to be careful of distractors. You understand? They do this a lot. They do this a lot. But if you listen carefully, you you know the correct option. All right, good. Now let's look at uh IELTS listening band scores. How to convert your band score. For you to have 9/9 in the listening section, you have to get 39 out of 40 or 40/40. For you to get 8.5, you have to be able to score 37/40 or 38/40. Okay. If you cannot hear me, you'll have to check your network or you'll have to refresh your browser. Okay, because others can hear me. Okay, so you may have to refresh your browser. Okay, in fact, you may have to do that. Make sure your audio is working perfectly, because in the next few minutes I'll give you all a recording from a listening test for you to listen to and answer questions. So make sure your audio is working perfectly. All right, good. So to have a score of 8.0/9.0, you have to be able to score 35/40 or 36/40. To have a score of 7.5/9.0, then you have to be able to score 32/40, 33/40, or 34/40. To have a score of 7.0/9.0, you have to be able to score 30/40 or 31/40. I don't even want to go down to 6.5 or below, because none of them is considered okay. Those ones should not be considered good scores. Okay, even though it depends on a good score depends on the score requirements of the school that you are applying to. All right, good. So the next thing is to give you a listening test. Okay, that's the next thing. Okay, good. Let's see. Okay, this. So what I want to do right now, I want to share. I want to upload listening question paper. So I'm trying to upload the listening question paper. So after uploading it, then I'll play the recording for you to listen to in order to answer the questions. So I've been able to upload the content. So the next thing now is okay. So now let me take it the listening questions that you answer. Okay, should be able to do like this. So I'm taking it to the listening questions. Okay. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Okay, so I'm there already. Okay, I'm there. So, all right, good. So let me take the. Okay, just a minute. I'll be playing right now. I'll be playing the recording, the first recording. I'll be playing the first recording. So, but I'll play briefly, after which I'll stop it. I want to be sure that you can hear the audio. I want to be sure that you can hear the audio. Okay.
Cambridge IELTS 8 by University of Cambridge ESOL examinations.
Did you hear the audio? Did you hear the audio, please? Did you hear the audio? Okay, good, good. All right, good. So I'll replay it now. Good.
Published by Cambridge University Press. This recording is copyright. CD2. Test 3. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear an estate agent talking to a customer who wants to rent a house. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you.
I'm interested in renting a house somewhere in the town.
Right. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Stephen Godfrey.
And tell me how many bedrooms you're looking for.
Well, we'd need 4 because I'm going to share the house with 3 friends.
The number of bedrooms needed is 4. So 4 has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 8. Good morning. How can I help you?
Hello, I'm interested in renting a house somewhere in the town.
Right. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Stephen Godfrey.
And tell me how many bedrooms you're looking for.
Well, we'd need 4 because I'm going to share the house with 3 friends.
Okay. There are several of that size on our books. They mostly belong to families who are working abroad at the moment. What about the location?
It'd be nice to be central.
That might be difficult, as most houses of that size are in the suburbs.
All right, now I'm sorry about that, but before we continue, okay, before we continue, I believe that you have already heard the answer to the first question there. So I would like to ask you, what is the answer to question 1? Please, I need you all to answer that question. The answer to question 1. Submit your answer. Let me see. Submit your answer, everyone. Let me see. 2 people have already submitted their answers. Okay, now, the first person said the answer to question 1 is central area. Now, that's wrong. The answer is wrong. The answer to the question is central. If you say central area, the question says preferred location. It says in the dash area. You already have area as part of the question. So you already have area of town. So you don't put area. So you just put central. So in the central. So central. Okay. Now, all right, good. Now, I want you to know that, remember that it is said in the recording that you have to, you were allowed to look at questions 1 to 8, and then you were asked to listen to answer questions 1 to 8. So now I won't stop the recording until after the answer to question 8 has been said. So I'll allow you to listen to the recording properly, to listen to question 2, question 3, question 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So then the recording will pause a bit. So I'll also pause it, and then I'll ask you to submit your answers. So so questions 2 to 8, I'll wait for all the answers to be mentioned in the recording, after which I'll pause it. So you have to listen carefully. So make sure if you can write the answers, if you have any notes there or anywhere you can write the answers, for example, question 2, anywhere you can write the answer beside you there, anywhere you can write the answer. So if you have a note or something, listen to the, you'll be able to answer questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Stephen Godfrey.
And tell me how many bedrooms you're looking for.
Well, we'd need 4 because I'm going to share the house with 3 friends.
Okay. There are several of that size on our books. They mostly belong to families who are working abroad at the moment. What about the location?
It'd be nice to be central.
That might be difficult, as most houses of that size are in the suburbs. Still, there are a few. What's your upper limit for the rent?
We'd like something around £500 a month, but we could go up to £600 if we have to. But we can't go beyond that.
Do you know how long you want to rent the house for? The minimum let is 6 months, as you probably realise.
We're at college here for 2 years, and we don't want to have to move during that time if we can avoid it.
Right. And how soon do you want to move in? All our lets start on the 1st of the month.
Well, as soon as possible, really. So that means September 1st.
Okay. Let me have a look at what we've got. We have photographs of all the houses on our book, so you can get an idea of what they're like. There's this one in Oakington Avenue at £550 a month, combined living room and dining room with a separate kitchen. It doesn't have a garage, though you can park in the road.
We'd prefer to have one if possible.
Right. Then have a look at this house in Mead Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a very large living room and kitchen, bathroom, cloakroom.
How much is it?
That one's £580. It's very well furnished and equipped. It also has plenty of space for parking, and it's available for a minimum of a year. Oh, and there's a big garden.
I don't think we could cope with that, to be honest. We'll be too busy to look after it.
Okay. Then there's this older house in Hamilton Road. Living room, kitchen, diner, and it has a study. $550 a month.
That looks rather nice. But whereabouts in Hamilton Road?
Towards the western end.
Oh, that'll be very noisy. I know the area.
Yes, it's pretty lively. Some people like it, though. Well, what about this house in Devon Close?
That looks lovely.
There's a big demand for houses in that area, so prices tend to be quite high. But this one hasn't been decorated for a few years, which has kept the rent down a bit. It's got a living room, dining room, and small kitchen, and it's $595 a month. I think it would suit you from what you've said.
Sounds fine.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 9 and 10. Now listen and answer questions 9 and 10.
Why is that part of town so popular?
Well, there's a big scheme to improve the district, and it'll soon have the best facilities for miles around.
What sort of thing?
There's a big sports centre under construction, which will be very impressive when it's finished. In fact, the swimming pool's already opened, ahead of schedule, and it's attracting a lot of people.
What about cinemas? Are there any in the area?
The only one closed down last year, and it's now in the process of being converted into a film museum. The local people are trying to get a new cinema added to the scheme.
I think I heard something about a plan to replace the existing concert hall with a larger one.
Ah, that's due to start next year.
Well, it sounds an interesting area to live in. Could I go and see the house, please?
Yes, of course.
Right. So that's the end of the first recording.
That is the end of section 1.
Right.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Right. So once again, that's the end of the first recording of 10 questions. So I want you to submit your answers to questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Now turn to section 2.
Okay, you missed the answer to question 6. Okay, so all right, I'm waiting for at least one other person. Okay, at least one other person to submit his or her answers. Okay. Okay, I think what I'll do now is let me take it back. I'll take it back. Okay, then I'll listen. We'll all listen again. So as I listen, as I hear the answer to each question, I'll pause the recording and tell you the answer.
Cambridge IELTS 8 by University of Cambridge ESOL Examinations, published by Cambridge University Press. This recording is copyright. CD 2. Test 3. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you.
Don't worry, it's playing. I think this is the time that we are allowed to look at the questions, okay? So it's playing, don't worry, it will resume now. So as soon as I hear the answer to the question, I'll quickly pause it and tell you the answer.
You will see that there is an example that has been done for you.
Okay, I need to skip this example
On
too.
this occasion only,
To share the house with 3 friends.
the number of bedrooms needed is 4, so 4 has been written in the space. Now we shall begin.
All right.
You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 8.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Hello, I'm interested in renting a house somewhere in the town.
Right. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Stephen Godfrey.
And tell me how many bedrooms you're looking for.
Well, we'd need 4 because I'm going to share the house with 3 friends.
Okay. There are several of that size on our books. They mostly belong to families who are working abroad at the moment. What about the location?
It'd be nice to be central.
That might be difficult.
So once again, the answer to question 1 is central. All right, good. So right now, I'll be listening to hear the answer to question 2, which says maximum monthly rent.
Most houses of that size are in the suburbs. Still, there are a few. What's your upper limit for the rent?
Now, she just said, what's your upper limit for the rent? Upper. She used a synonym of maximum. Instead of maximum, she said upper. So the guy will be answering the question now.
We'd like something around £500 a month, but we could go up to £600 if we have to. But we can't go beyond that.
Do you know how long you...
All right, so that's 600. So now, what you need to know about this is, he says they can't go beyond £600. You already have the pound symbol attached to question 2. You already have the pound symbol. So the correct answer is 600. Don't put pounds. Don't put the symbol again because you have this pound symbol, and don't write pounds in as a word. Just write 600. Once again, the guy said they can't go beyond £600. You already have the pound symbol, so the correct answer is 600. Right, so let's listen to answer question 3.
To rent the house for? The minimum let is 6 months, as you probably realise.
We're at college here for 2 years, and we don't want to have to move during that time if we can avoid it.
Right. And how soon do you
So
want to
the
move?
answer to question 3, 2 years. 2 years. All right, so good. So we are going to listen to answer questions 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right.
All our lets start on the 1st of the month.
Well, as soon as possible, really. So that means September 1st.
Okay, let me have a look at what we've got. We have photographs of all the houses on our book, so you can get an idea of what they're like. There's this one in Oakington Avenue at £550 a month, combined living room and dining room with a separate kitchen. It doesn't have a garage, though you can park in the road.
The answer to question 4 is garage. That is, so someone puts no garage. So, but you already have no attached to question 4. So if you say no garage, if you fill the question 4 as no garage, then it will mean no garage, which is not grammatically correct. So the answer to question 4 is garage, since you already have no. She said there's no garage, so since you already have no attached to the question, so the answer to question 4 is garage. So, all right, good. So if you added no, that's wrong. Okay. And then again, remember the instruction. If you look at the instruction on top of this table, you see that it says 1 word and or a number. So it should not be more than 1 word. So if you say no garage, if that's your answer, then those are 2 words, which is incorrect. And then since the answer once again is already attached to the question, and the answer is garage, so just put garage. That is no garage, so just put garage. So let's listen to answer question 5.
We'd prefer to have one if possible.
Right. Then have a look at this house in Mead Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a very large living room and kitchen, bathroom, cloakroom.
How much is it?
That one's £580. It's very well furnished and equipped. It also has plenty of space for parking, and it's available for a minimum of a year. Oh, and there's a big garden.
I don't think we could cope with that, to be honest.
All right, so the answer to question 5 is garden. Garden. That's pronounced G, as in that's spelled Garden, as in garden. What we pronounce garden? She just pronounced it garden. What we pronounce garden? So she just pronounced it garden. So Garden. That's the answer to question 5, garden. All right, so let's listen to answer question. Let's listen to answer. Okay, to answer question 6. Okay, good. Question 6.
We'll be too busy to look after it.
Okay. Then there's this older house in Hamilton Road. Living room, kitchen, diner, and it has a study. 5.
Okay, good. So the answer to question 6 is study. 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 D-Y, study. So now let's listen to answer question 7. Okay, question 7.
150 a month.
That looks rather nice. But whereabouts in Hamilton Road?
Towards the western end.
Oh, that'll be very noisy. I know the area.
Yes, it's pretty lively.
So the answer to question 7 is noisy. Noisy. The guy just said, oh, that would be too noisy, but you already have 2. So the answer to question 7 is noisy. So noisy. Okay. Now let's listen to answer question 8. As you can see, for question 8, we have to answer the correct answer to question 8 is if it's price. We want to listen for price. So the answer, as you can see, pound. This is the pound symbol. So we are listening for figure, price, price. All right. So let's listen to answer question 8.
Some people like it though. Well, what about this house in Devon Close?
That looks lovely.
There's a big demand for houses in that area, so prices tend to be quite high. But this one hasn't been decorated for a few years, which has kept the rent down a bit. It's got a living room, dining room, and small kitchen, and it's $595 a month, I think.
So that's 595. So the answer to question 8 is 595. 500. Once again, someone puts pounds, 595, but because we already have the pound symbol. All right, good. So let's listen to answer question.
From what you've said.
Sounds fine.
Now listen and answer questions 9 and 10.
Why is that part of town so popular?
Well, there's a big scheme to improve the district, and it'll soon have the best facilities for miles around.
What sort of thing?
There's a big sports centre under construction, which will be very impressive when it's finished. In fact, the swimming pool's already opened ahead of...
All right, good. She just said the swimming pool is already open. And this question says, which 2 facilities in the district of Devon Close are open to the public at the moment? And she just said the swimming pool is already open. So option E is one of the 2 correct options. Now, before we listen for the other correct option, there's something I want you to know about options in the listen section. There's something I want you to know about options, multiple choice questions, questions that have options like this, they are called multiple choice questions. So once again, there's something I want you to know about multiple choice questions, questions that have options like this. That thing is the fact that it is possible for the speaker or the speakers to mention all the options. But if you listen carefully, you will know the correct options. Once again, it is very possible for the speaker or the speakers in the recording to mention all the options. You understand? And that could make it hard. Imagine all the options are mentioned. It could make it hard. But once again, if you listen carefully, you will know the correct options. So once again, she just said the swimming pool is already open. So I'm going to listen to answer we are going to listen for the other correct option. So let's see which one is the other correct option. Is it option A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? So let's listen to hear the other correct option.
And it's attracting a lot of people.
What about cinemas? Are there any in the area?
The only one closed down last year, and it's now in the process of being converted into a film museum. The local people are trying to get a new cinema added to the scheme.
I think I heard something about a plan to replace the existing concert hall with a larger one.
Did you just hear that? Did you hear that? The guy just said, I think I heard that there's a plan to replace the existing concert hall with a larger one. He said there is a plan to replace the existing concert hall with a larger one. So that makes option B the second correct option. So by saying existing concert hall, that means the concert hall is already open to the public at the moment. So options B and E are the two correct options here. All right, so this is okay. This is the listening section in a nutshell. In the listening section, it's either there are blanks that you have to fill like this. There are missing words. That there are blanks that you have to fill, or there are options, okay, from which you have to pick the correct options. So that's the listening section in a nutshell. Okay, there is still a lot more to discuss in the listening section, and a lot more test for you to do. Okay, a lot more. There are some tips too that I still have to discuss with you. I still have some tips that will help you to ace the listening section, and I still have a lot more practice tests from different sources. From Cambridge, this one you are using is from Cambridge. I have some resources from British Council, from different sources, Barron's, and all that. Okay, so a lot more tips that I have not discussed yet, and okay, some more questions. All right, good. Some more questions. Okay, good. So we are going to listen to the second recording, and then
during the war in 1940. So the opportunity was taken to create a cultural centre that would be what they called the city's gift to the nation. Of course, it took a while for such a big project to get started, but it was planned in the 60s, built in the 70s, and eventually opened to the public in 1983. Ever since then, it has proved to be a great success. It's not privately owned, like many art centres, but is still in public hands. It's run by the City Council. Both our National Symphony Orchestra and National Theatre Company were involved in the planning of the project, and they're now based there, giving regular performances every week. And as the centre is open 363 days of the year, there are plenty of performances to choose from.
All right, good. So I want to be that listen. You heard the answers to questions 11 to 16. So now I want you to submit your answers to questions 11 to 16. So for question 11, what do you think the answer is for question 12? What do you think the answer is for question 13, 14, and 15 and 16? So once again, you need to submit your answers to the questions. Question 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So what are the answers? Okay. In the absence of your answers, let me listen to the recording and answer the questions for you. Okay.
Section 2. You will hear a man talking on the radio about a national arts centre. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello, and welcome to Focus on the Arts. I'm your host, Dave Green, and this is your very own local radio program. Every Friday evening, we put the spotlight on different arts and culture facilities and look at the shows and events that are on offer in the coming week. And today, the focus is on the National Arts Centre. Now, if you don't already know it yourself, I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's famous throughout the world as one of the major venues for classical music. But did you know that it's actually much more than just a place to hear concerts? The centre itself is a huge complex that caters for a great range of arts. Under a single roof, it houses concert rooms, theatres, cinemas, art galleries, and a wonderful public library, as well as service facilities including 3 restaurants and a bookshop. So, at any one time, the choice of entertainment there is simply enormous. So, how did they manage to build such a big arts complex right in the heart of the city? Well, the area was completely destroyed by bombs during the war in 1940. So the opportunity was taken to create a cultural centre that would be what they called the city's gift to the nation. Of course, it took a while for such a big project to get started, but it was planned in the 60s, built in the 70s, and eventually opened to the public in 1983. Ever since then, it has proved to be a great success. It's not privately owned, like many arts centres, but is still in public hands. It's run by the City Council. Both our National Symphony Orchestra and National Theatre Company were involved in the planning of the project, and they're now based there, giving regular performances every week. And as the centre is open 363 days of the year, there are plenty of performances to choose from.
Right, so those are the answers. So those are the answers to the questions. The answer to question 11 is classical music. The answer to question 12 is bookshop. The answer to question 13 is planned. The answer to question 14 is 1983. Question 15, the answer is City Council. And question 16, the answer is 363.